Let's go ahead and talk about my baby. My baby here, the Forbidden Stars. Forbidden Stars would be my next one that I'm going to talk about from my collection. It's a little bit different from Black Sonata, just a little bit. Ooh, by the way, on Black Sonata, I won last night. I figured out there was some deduction stuff that I was not grasping, and I figured out the pattern, and I figured out the kind of information that you have to get, which means I wasn't moving around the center of the map and trying to lock down any path that the Dark Lady was taking. I had to move around at least somewhat to access all the locations to get the pivotal information, and that's what I was missing. But I won last night, so that was a lot of fun. Anyways, we're not talking about Black Sonata. We're talking about Forbidden Stars, which is my next game in my collection I want to talk about, because this out-of-print beauty from Fantasy Flight Games is a delight. It is fantastical. I mean, I can just use this as a nice little... I'm just gonna do this. I like it a lot. It's one of the first big box games that I bought when I got into the hobby, and it's gorgeous. It's just a magnificent game. You have 4 races in the box. This is in the Warhammer universe. You've got the Space Marines or the Ultramarines, and then you have the Chaos Space Marines, and then you have the Orcs, and then you have the Eldar. And those are the 4 races. This is pretty much probably the first asymmetric game I ever played, and it is fantastical. It's a very long game. 2 players isn't too bad. It can take a couple hours, but 3 and 4 players will take a lot longer. But it's so satisfying. The card driven combat and dice driven combat, that interplay between those two is just delightful. The hidden order selection is so cool because you have to think in reverse, but then you also, like, tokens can be placed on top of each other so you can block opponents and what they're trying to do at the time that they're trying to do it. There is so many good things in this game. It is absolutely one of my favorites. I got to teach it to Alex from Board Game Co. Got to teach it to him recently, and he enjoyed it. And, oh, man, I love this game so much. It is out of print. It's no longer able to be made because Fantasy Flight lost the Warhammer license. But I do believe that hopefully there might be a reskin of this in the future, because it's delightful. This is one of the games I'll never get rid of this game. Even if I don't play it over the course of 5 years, I would never get rid of it just because it's that good and it's that satisfying. I love Forbidden Stars. This is for sure one of my absolute top games. And a little bit heavier. These are probably, games like Black Sonata and other, solo games and small box games are newer to my collection. I've been only doing those the last, year or two. But this is kind of like my bread and butter. Like if I can get in a game of Forbidden Stars or Twilight Imperium, that 100% excites me. Because it's, I'm not able to do it as often, but they are so satisfying. I know that there's a lot of people in the hobby that complain about not being able to table these as often, so they're not as valuable in terms of having them in the collection. I disagree. I think that even if I play this once a year or once every 2 years, the enjoyment that I derive from that experience is so much so that it's worth having. I absolutely adore it. I think that it does so many things very cleverly. I have a running theory that people's favorite games, like absolute favorite games that they derive a lot of joy from, frequently are somewhat messy or not, maybe mechanically perfect, because they lose something or they sacrifice something in terms of accessibility or in terms of ease of play in finding that sweet spot for every player. And I like this game. This is so much fun. I don't care if I have to sit for 15 minutes while 2 players finish out a combat, which could definitely happen, especially if you're playing with people who haven't played in a while, or if you're playing with people who have kind of analysis paralysis. They can, take a while to finish a 3-round combat while they, deliberate and agonize over their card decisions. But I will sit through that because it's so satisfying when I get to be that person, when I get to be the one in combat. And I don't mind. I can just read, sit on my phone, or strategize and think of stuff to do in the game. But this is not just like an area control and combat and build up your forces game. This is objective based. You're trying to get your objectives, which are kind of locked down at your enemy or opponent's locations and planets. Now the entry game, or the introductory game, it sets up the board for you to where you don't have to worry about that. You can just go about your day and you can set it up and you can play and you can figure that out. But to me, where this hits that next level is when you actually build out the map, because you can drastically alter the fate of players whenever you're building the map. Because when you build it out, you go around the table and you custom put a tile map down, and it is just, woof, man. It is nerve-wracking because you have to allocate your forces. You have to decide which objective tokens you're putting where. So, I mean, you can make or break parts of the game in this setup in very exciting ways. Not in ways that, like, ruin the game for you, because just by nature of the game, you have to spread out the objectives across the map. So even if you might maybe inadvertently give somebody access to one of their objectives early, they still have to push across the rest of the map to find the rest of theirs. But you can create little chains of worlds that help the orcs, hop from planet to planet, or you can create these massive void spaces that makes it really nice for the Eldar to traverse, but not necessarily everybody else, because there's just so much asymmetry to take into account. Like the Ultramarines kind of function as like the turtles who like build up their forces slowly, and it's very hard to kill them. And then the Chaos Space Marines are a little bit sneaky and subversive in the strategies that they have. And then the Eldar are very ship based. They have more ship units. Like when you run out of units, you can't use anymore. So the Eldar actually physically have more ship units than other races or other factions, which means that they're more of a threat in space and can spread out and move across voids a lot easier. And then, the orcs are just like spawn their units and just try to overwhelm you with kind of like a ground attack or like a more of a land battles. I wish that this game had expansions to it. I would have absolutely loved to have seen other races, other factions. I think it would have greatly increased the, variability or variety that passionate fans who play it a lot could see. I just think that I don't think this game gets talked enough about. I mean, it is a big box and it's beautiful, and it deserves more love. And I realize now that I've got the top and the bottom not facing the right way, which is something that I personally hate. So I'm gonna have to fix that once we get off camera and stuff. But This is one. This is my next game out of the games I got, which is tentative thumbnail / series title. It's not the most elegant title, but it's the whole purpose of this is so you guys can see what games I have and what I like, and I like this one a lot. But let me see. Oh, the other mistake I made last time is I didn't really set myself up with a good thumbnail. So there we go. I got the thumbnail. Perfect. I can end this now.